In 80 years, I'm 80 years old, and in years and years of shooting, that's the best, my favorite rest, period. Better than any commercial one that I've ever bought. And it's light enough, but heavy enough. It's sturdy, it's steady. And if you want it even more sturdy, for whatever reason, you can add weight to it. You can add various weights to it to make it heavier if you want, but it don't need to be. It don't need to be. It is a great rest. So I hope that answers the questions to people that want me to tell you about this rest. So while on the subject of rest, let's go one more. This is another rest that we use out here at the farm. We use it a lot, a whole lot. I hardly ever use it, but a lot of the guys like to use it. But it's wider. You've got I've got four elevations on it. Okay. This is a 2x10. This piece here is 2x10. This is 2x10. This is 2x10. This was a scrap piece of 2x10, but you can see how it's made. It's just a triangle to give you your 1-inch rest down here. You've got a 1-inch resting point here, a 1-inch resting point right there. That's it. You got 1, 2, 3. There's your 3 resting points. I've got this 2x10 bolted in the middle of this 2x10. Okay? Then the scrap piece back here of whatever you want, whatever you really want. It really don't matter. Whatever you want back here is fine. But anyway, so I've got that 2x10. I've got one notch, 7 inches off, 8 inches off, 9.5 inches off, and 12 inches off the floor, off the bench right here. So that gives me, that's actually set up for the various feel. I've got, this is hilly country up here, and some is kind of, you'll be shooting kind of down, some kind of up. So each one of these elevations match out to different field positions, like way up on top of that field, or out here in the middle of this flat, or if you go look out the other way, down through some of the valleys out there. So those actually match out to various positions here on the farm. But it's very wide, but it works fine. This window here, it works great shooting out here. It also works good off of my concrete bench out here. So, but on it, you have to use a separate rear rest, naturally. And so by using this separate rest, or combination of rest, whichever, you can use any number of different rests back here, but that'll give you different distances from here, from your rear rest to your front. So you got to really watch that 24-inch center, where the front of your forearm's resting. You got to be real conscious of that on this, because it's not center-centered, because all of this is movable. So be sure and keep that in mind. On that, it's a good rest. It's quick, it's easy, but I much prefer this one. Much prefer. It's narrower, easier to use, but the adjustments on this are instant. They're just there. And on this one, it takes you a few seconds to make your adjustments here. Okay? But both of them are good rest. I definitely prefer this one. Now that main rest that I was showing you how I made it, that is the best bench rest, shooting rest that I've ever come up with. I like it better than any commercial rest, regardless of price. It works better for me, and I think you'll find it works good for you too. It is a very good and stable rest. But out here in the Quigley, for several reasons, I don't use it out here where I'm actually doing most of my hunting, out here in the Quigley. One thing, when I made this bench, is made very specific shape, size, and everything else to work good here in the Quigley, to slide around to these different windows. All right, it's the shape. It's an odd looking shape, but the shape is made to fit in the Quigley. It fits in here. It fits whatever I needed to do in here. But so that bench out there, my main one that I was showing you in there, I could use it here, but it's a little slow in compared to this rest. In other words, I've told you before in other videos that when you see a deer out here in these fields, most of the time they just give you seconds or a minute or so to get on it. You don't have time to sit around and fool around with various adjustments. You got to get on it right now, or you're not going to get him. So in order to not, well, sitting on the bench rest where just shooting for loads and testing loads and stuff like that, you got all the time in the world. But here you don't. So I made a rest that actually works fantastic for out here in the Quigley. Now, again, you always got to have that 3-point rest. So there's 1 point, on the other one over here, there's your other 2. 1, 2, and 3 points. Now, when I flip this upside down, I've also got 3 points, the 3-point rest. But when I made this cross piece, the height of these, the overall height of these 2 side pieces, and this configuration right here, this configuration here, this is made very specific. Like when you look, when I've got this turned over this way, the height of this and this elevation is fairly high. But when I flip it over, they're low. They're down here. They're really low. And this is all made for different fields. As I bring this table, this shooting table, over to these different fields, when I open these windows, this was for the valley down here. This is for the valley. This elevation is for slightly up here on this hill. And so, as usual, about the time I get right in the middle of something, the battery dies. So I had to go back to get another battery. But anyway, I'm not going to give you specific dimensions on this rest. I'm just going to give you the idea, because this is made specific for this bench and for the field elevations, or the elevations down here in this valley, or out here in these fields, or up here on this mountain. These are specifics. And that rest is made to where I can cover any of these fields in a heartbeat. So I got where I can flip this upside down. As you can tell, this is for some couple of fairly low elevations. Flip it over, I got higher elevations. And each of these were measured out to fit specific fields down here. The height from here to here matches one field. From here to here matches another's. This matches another, this matches another, and actually this matches an even different one, all the way up here on top. But on all of them, you need enough space. In other words, this needed to fit on my bench You see, I don't have much to spare. Here at the front, the bench is kind of narrow up here. So this was made as wide as I could make it and still fit on my bench. So I made this weird looking shape here so I could put sandbags on either one. That's what that's about. It had to be that wide in order to give me sandbags. Place to hold my sandbags. Flip it over. Got a sandbag to fit down here. On this one, sandbags that'll fit up here. Now, when you go to use it, I'm not going to take this sling off to show you, but so I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to give you specifics, but you have to adjust this to your situation. I would set the rifle up to where I would get the right elevation to shoot, say in this field. Then I would see what elevation that is, how far off my bench I am. Then I would do that for the different fields. And then I constructed this thing, the height that I needed to get my highest. And then I turned and made this piece here with these different elevations here, where I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 elevations for whatever field I might be in. Whatever field I might be in. So it's instant. This is good, it's pretty stable. This bench here, be on rollers, is not as stable as my other shooting benches, and this, because it's a fairly narrow stance, is not nearly as stable as the other, but it is stable enough to get a shot off, sort of a bench rest shot out here under hunting conditions, and it's quick. The main thing is I can see a deer at one field. I can roll my table over, my shooting table where I want it. I can flip this instantly to whatever elevation I need, and now I'm on the deer quick. This is set up where you got a good rest, a pretty doggone good rest, but it's quick. That's what this is set up for. So that's just to give you an idea of what I did and how and why I did it, how I did it. But if you're going to use that kind of an idea, this is like 4 or 5 rests in one. Go 4 or 5 elevations in it, but they're quick. I just flip it from one to the other because speed is of the essence out here. You got speed. Without the speed, accuracy is not going to count because your deer's gone. So you get on him quick, and it's quite stable. It's quite stable. Not as stable as some of my other rests, but it is stable. So anyway, I've had numerous questions about the rest that I've used, so I hope that explains it, and I hope that answers all the questions. If not, just tell me what I need to explain a little better. I may have got myself confused there, I don't know. But anyway, that's the 3 main rests that I use. I use this one here, out here in the Quigley for hunting. This is my quick instant rest out here in the Quigley. The other one is my primary bench rest, and then occasionally I will use that other one. I designed and used the other one, the longer, wider one with the 4 steps in it, before I made the adjustable one. And after I made the adjustable one, it is so superior that that's what I use 90% of the time. So, hope that answers your questions, and talk soon.